I think we're good here.
Okay, good
I think
morning.
we're good. Let's rock and roll. This is
Okay.
July 4th. This is freedom. This is Independence Day. And this is a good thing. I even put on my red, white, and blue shirt.
Hey, well, all right, I've got the blue, so.
Yeah, I'm feeling very freedom-y today.
I was just thinking July 4th, this is a good one for the name of your website, Free Indie.
Absolutely. I'm all about freedom. Freedom is one of my highest values in life. I realize that I really value, and not even freedom in terms of independence, but freedom just in terms of freedom to believe and hope and dream and love, and freedom to just be free to be everything that we can be.
That is so, so true and so important. You're right. Yeah.
I value that. And we as a country value, I mean, our country was essentially founded on freedom.
Right.
So, so yeah, I mean, anyhow, well, welcome. All right. It looks like
so happy 4th of July.
The people that are on can hear and see us both. So happy Independence Day.
Okay.
Awesome. I obviously people know me. I'm Kirk M. Samuels, but that's not what's important. What's important right now is who you are, and who you are is the great, the illustrious, the gifted, the talented, the smart. One of my very good friends, and we've known each other for a couple of years now, I think. And author of the book, I even have it right here. Yes, I know. And what's the subtitle? How to Set Healthy Boundaries and Increase Your Self-Esteem. The great Barbra E. Russell. How are you?
Wow, I am doing well. Thank you very much for that introduction. I'll have to pay you the quarterly.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm your hype man. I'm your hype man. Whenever you go into a room, which actually maybe you'll need a hype man soon. You got some big things coming up. Maybe I need to be the guy to introduce you. We'll talk about that later, though. I'm gonna come back to that.
Okay. All right.
You got some big things happening, but I mean, you do so many things. Not only are you an author, I mean, you're a counselor, you're a therapist. I mean, you're a speaker, all those kinds of things. I want to go straight into something that I want to get you to explain. What is solution-oriented brief therapy?
Okay, so what that basically means is that long ago, when kind of counseling first started under Freudian type of methods, people laid on the couch and they talked about their problems and they looked for insight. Mm-hmm. However, solution-focused brief therapy is going straight to looking for solutions.
Wow. I mean, to me though, that sounds like the best kind of therapy. I mean, to me, who doesn't want solutions?
It just makes sense, because if you just think about it, let's think about those people who used to come in and go to therapy once a week for 7 years, and they try to figure things out. And at the end of that time, they figure, oh yeah, this was from my childhood or from my mother, from my father, whatever was going on. They now still have to get to a solution for their problems. They figured out where it came from. Maybe they have additional understanding. And sometimes that is important. Sometimes that can be helpful. But with solution focused, if I see somebody come in, I'll say, what's the problem now? And let's talk about now. If things from the past are affecting the present, we certainly want to look at that, but we want to start now, and we can make progress right away.
So it sounds like when someone comes in, or when you work from that approach, it sounds like, and I've, good or bad, I don't know, I've had a bunch of therapy in my life. That's a whole.
Well, good for you. See.
Yeah, I've had a bunch, but anyhow, it sounds like when you take that approach, essentially, you're not starting from day one and coming to day now. You're starting from day now, and you're basically unpacking your bags.
Yeah. So a lot of times we'll start with the problem now and work on something that can be changed right in this moment, that people can walk out the door and say, oh, I feel hopeful because there is something that I can do. And then as they begin to build confidence in themselves, and trust and building the relationship, maybe they'll talk about things that come from the past and that maybe they couldn't talk about before. But now they feel more confident because they've actually gone out and done something different, and they feel good about that. And that helps them move forward. It helps us move forward together. I love that approach.
Yeah, me too. Because I mean, to be honest, that's why I start off with that, because it wasn't until I read your book, and then I came across that, and I think it was even at your book launch. I think I walked up to you and said, "Hey, I think I do that."
Right.
Because
Exactly.
I love starting with the solution, like, and even in the context of Uplift here in these webinars, I love being solution oriented and focusing on the solution, not the problem. You know, I don't have time or desire to really focus on a lot of problems as much as I do solutions. I mean,
Yeah.
life is going to have enough problems, but, you know, when do we actually have, you know, some real solutions? And so, yeah, when I read that in your book, I was just like, that's a thing? Like, I didn't even know that was a thing.
You've been doing it and you didn't even know it.
Yeah, that's been the case in a lot of bad ways. This was in a good way, actually.
That is good.
And so yeah, so I have challenged you with a very difficult question. First of all, I mean, your book and a lot of the focus of conversations and all that is about setting boundaries, as it indicates right in the title. And
Right.
I think this is important in the context of relationships today. I think this is important, especially in the context of relationships that are challenged.
Yeah.
Um, Especially in the context of a relationship where quite often it is the female or the wife in the relationship that really overextends in a way that becomes unhealthy in terms of boundaries. And so I challenged you with this difficult question, and the difficult question is, what are healthy boundaries in relationship with a porn user?
That is a good question. And as I am sure you have probably mentioned to people who are living with somebody that is using porn, let's say that's primarily men, and so we're going to be talking to the women in the UpliftHer. I think it's so important to remember that it's not the spouse or the girlfriend or whoever that is, it's not their fault. A lot of times when there's pornography use, I think that women think, oh, what's wrong with me? I don't look pretty enough, or I don't look like those people on the screen. And they keep trying to change them. But the first thing that I would say, it's not about you. And when it's not about you, then you don't have to feel so emotionally attached to it. Because in order to set good boundaries with anybody, whether that's in addictions of any kind or with yourself, if you can think logically and clearly and not have that emotional tug of war going on that there's something wrong with me, you're going to be better off to do that.
Wow. That is so profound. And I'm telling you, this is why you and I job, because I say that specifically in terms of it is not your fault. Hey, before we, I want to, the couple of people that are on, the few people that are on here, actually, I just want a reminder that there's a chat window at the bottom and also a Q&A button at the bottom. And if anyone has a question or a comment or anything like that, there's a way for you to provide input into this conversation and or ask a question. And so back to the whole notion of someone seeing that it's their fault. I see that as probably the most common thing amongst spouses of guys, specifically focusing on guys that consume pornography,
Right.
that it's not my fault. And I think quite often women internalize that, and women make it about them. And I try to tell women that, you know, it's really not about you, it's about him.
Mm-hmm.
And quite honestly, that consumption, that habit, that addiction, whatever you want to call it, that relationship, as I call it, a relationship, even his relationship with pornography, probably predated you. And so
Yeah.
if anything, pornography didn't come into your relationship, you came into the relationship with pornography.
Right.
And so
Right.
I try to frame that in terms of how women see that. But that being the case, I mean, in terms of it not being their fault, I mean, how does someone kind of wrap their head around that, as well as boundaries with that person?
Yeah, because again, that in itself, it's not my fault. That's a big step. And so probably a lot of education, as you teach, Kirk, pornography is such a secret addiction and it can be hidden so well. So very probably, as you said, this predates the relationship. That's already a problem that men have already been having, and then she joins in. And so that discovery can be shocking. It can be, oh my gosh, what, I thought we were good. I thought he loved me, but apparently he doesn't. So all of these emotions going on in your head. And certainly if there is anything that has been in the woman's past that could, maybe they felt like, well, again, they have a childhood issue, or let's say their dad didn't really approve and validate them, then it gets triggered really fast. So something that, let's say on a scale from 1 to 10 would be, oh, this is not a good thing, but it's a 5, you know, it's not going to destroy everything right at this moment. But because it reminds her of something from her childhood, man, it skyrockets up to an 8 or a 9 or 10, and she thinks, I can't handle this. And so she may need some help and have somebody to talk to as well, because it really is that first step of wrapping your mind around this thought. And then what are we going to do? And basically, as you know, the pornography addiction, like any addiction, especially a sexual addiction, is just a false intimacy. And so guys are alone, and they need to learn to relate. And that will be a stepping process.
Wow. False intimacy. Did you read? You must have read a book that I wrote. False,
Yeah.
now you mentioned them talking this morning. Who should they go to? Should they talk to him first, or should they talk to someone else outside of the relationship first?
Well, I think obviously they're going to have some discussion with him, but even though they may want, I don't think it is wise for them to seek all of the gory details, that kind of thing. They need to say, okay, if we're going to get past this, maybe they need to speak to a counselor. Maybe they have a good friend that won't judge them, or they can just listen. For women in particular, when they can talk, they can kind of work themselves around into an okay place. They need to talk about it. Guys generally say, you know, if there's a problem, I just need to solve about it. But talking about it just stresses me out more, until they get to that place where they're willing to. So it will be a step-by-step process. Probably she needs to talk to an outside competent counselor first.
Wow. Can you unpack the idea? It's actually a chapter in your book. I always get tongue-tied. Caring without carrying.
Yeah. So care without carrying is a challenge, again, for any kind of number of situations, because you really care for that person. But if you find yourself, basically the short answer is, if you are doing what they should be doing, then you are carrying them. We often talk about the enabler in any kind of addiction family. If you're making excuses for them, or you're saying, no, I'll do that, then you wind up carrying them. If you feel worse for the addiction problem than they do, you're carrying that. That is not yours to carry. And so to care without carrying can be a challenge. So you first of all have to recognize, yep, that is what I am doing, and I feel bad, and be able to say that out loud. Again, there's power in our words, and to be able to say, yes, I am taking on more of this responsibility than I should. That's the first step. And then to be able to move beyond that, to begin to set reasonable boundaries. Again, if there's emotions involved, Perhaps the woman says, oh no, you know, this is it, I'm divorcing you, or we're separating, something very dramatic. But that is still carrying the emotions. So you're not only carrying the person, you're carrying the emotion. But when you care, say, I care for you, I care for our relationship. And so let's get a plan of how we can do that. And then she can become the encourager to say, okay, how are you doing? What's your progress? What steps have you made? Who have you talked to? And she sets boundaries about, you know, going to counseling or having an accountability partner, that kind of thing.
Wow. So why is it, and this is actually, I think this is a chapter in your book, why is it indeed so hard for us as people, and specifically, I mean, to women, why is it so hard to either set boundaries or to say no, or to set some kind of a structure or something like that within the confines of a relationship?
Yeah, you know, I think the reason I think this is so prevalent in our society is that our society actually promotes this in some way, unofficially. You know, we don't go around and say you should never say no, but just think of all of those times when we're growing up that you say yes, and I will be good, and I will do what you say, and we're not encouraged to speak up, to have a voice of our own, to say no, I don't want to do that. And so we go from childhood, where that's appropriate, to carrying that on into our adult years. And those old habits get stuck in our brain on those neural pathways. And so all of a sudden, then we're used to just saying yes. And so many people become people pleasers. There's also another chapter in my book that goes right along with that, that says people pleasing is not a spiritual gift. But sometimes, even especially in the Christian community, we think, oh, that's a gift I have. I just love to please people. But it turns out not to be so healthy.
Wow. And is it possible for I'll say a wife to also have to have boundary issues or yes no issues with even kids in the family, their kids?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because again, especially if they kind of feel like, well, here is somebody who will love me, and so I'll just do whatever they want, because then they'll really love me, they'll like me, and they're getting their validation from that. And so any unhealed issues that we have about us being okay just for who we are, that's going to get triggered in any kind of situations of addictions or not being able to say no. Because frankly, if we don't say no and if we keep saying yes, well, of course that's going to please the other person, and they're going to say, oh, you're so wonderful, thank you, I couldn't have done it without you. That feels good. And so people have a hard time breaking that, because they're saying, oh, what if they get mad at me? I don't want that. I want them to like me.
Wow. And so trying to circle back to the core of the question for this week. So, you know, I mean, there are, I think, I mean, well, not even I think, I mean, statistics and everything. I mean, there are so many families and so many homes dealing with a specific breakdown of relationship. If 6 out of 10 divorces involve someone with a porn problem, then, I mean, that's a huge number, considering there's 2,400 divorces 7 days a week on average.
Yeah.
There's that many in America alone. So, I mean, it's something that exists, and everyone feels like they're alone, and everyone feels like they're on an island, and they're the only one that experiences that. And so and I'm going to kind of give you a landmine question.
Okay.
And I'm going to let you either, and obviously you're not giving, you know, professional advice, you know, and that kind of stuff. I mean,
Right.
this is just an open discussion, but yeah, I'm gonna ask you a very dangerous kind of question here. When porn use exists in a home or in a marriage, at what point, if there is a point, should, I'm going to say the wife, because statistically most of the time it's the husband, at what point should she say enough is enough?
Well, yeah, and that is a good question. And of course, it's loaded, because I'm sure that will change and vary from person to person. But the short answer, the bottom line, is when I think there's not being an effort made. Now she might say, well, how am I gonna tell? You know, he's kept a secret for all of these years. He can still keep messing up and I wouldn't know. But again, when you look at it's a false intimacy, then as you begin to get closer, so some things that she can look for are not only those outside behavioral things. Is he going to meetings? Is he getting help? Does he have an accountability partner? Are they praying? They're talking about that. But they are actually connecting. All of a sudden, because you see anybody with an addiction, the reason they get an addiction, a real short answer, is that they don't know how to be able to handle the upsetting emotions, the anger, the fear, the frustration, the depression. And so people turn to some kind of an addiction. They haven't learned to talk their way through that, to figure out good decisions, to make decisions together, to do that with a spouse in the area of pornography. And so if she sees efforts being made, I think she needs to hang in there, because, you know, there can be slip-ups because none of us are perfect. But if she just continues to see withdrawing and no outside efforts are being made, no inside efforts are being made to connect with her, that's when she may have to look at her options about staying or going.
Wow. I mean, that's I knew I could trust you with that question. That was a phenomenal answer, actually. I mean, I mean, effort. I mean, and you can tell a lot from a guy about, you know, with his effort, what he cares about. He'll put effort into that thing that he cares about. And
yes,
I mean, I think that is a great indicator. And I tell quite often, he may not be there, but if he's on his way, that is fantastic.
mm-hmm.
That's absolutely fantastic. This has been a great conversation, man. That's been pretty much a half hour. But before we wrap up, first of all, this book is dope. I mean, I have 2 books on my headboard on my bed. This one, and then another one with just a bunch of inspirational quotes.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I mean, your book is flat out. Can they find that on Amazon?
They can. Yeah, it's just under Yes, I Said No, or under Barbra Russell, or
Awesome.
on my website too.
Now, today is July 4th, 2018. You have something very big coming up in the very near future in terms of something you're a part of. Can you share that with us?
Yes. Pastor Sarah Jakes Roberts is putting on a women's conference called Woman Evolve. And I will be one of the breakout speakers. I am so honored to be a part of that. They're expecting like 3,000 women coming. There's people from 200 different countries. It's going to be a big thing at the Potter's House Church here, right here in Denver.
Wow. And wow, one of the breakout sessions. Can you give us a clue as to what your breakout session is surrounding?
Yes, I'm actually honored to be with Michelle Williams of Destiny's Child. You know, Michelle.
Are you singing?
Oh, please. I don't think so. I'm talking. Maybe she will sing. That would be really cool. But, you know, she's so successful, but she had her own trip down the lane of depression and really got very depressed. And so she's going to tell her story. And then I am going to add in how we know we're depressed and what happens in our brain when we are depressed, and signs and symptoms to look for, so that people can be encouraged even if they're going through depression, as so many people are.
Wow, man, that is phenomenal. So what are the dates on that again?
So that is July 13th and 14th. That's a Friday and a Saturday, and people can still, I think there's a few slots left. People can go to womanevolve.com and register. There are so many speakers and good things. And of course, Sarah Jakes Roberts is getting a national and international reputation as well. And her husband, Pastor Teray Roberts, they'll be the main keynote speakers, and they have several other breakout speakers as well. It's going to be great.
Wow. Now, how can people get in touch with you?
So they can get in touch with me. Probably the easiest way is to go to my website, BarbraRussell.com. And the Barbara is spelled like Barbra Streisand, B-A-R-B-R-A. I have an unusual first name, but it's simply www.BarbraRussell.com. There's numbers on there. You can email me at barb@BarbraRussell.com. So I would love to talk to anybody, especially and follow up with what we've been talking about today.
Awesome. How's Jerry?
Doing good.
Nice. Awesome. Is he ready to put some steaks on the grill or something?
So we're going to go to Pueblo and celebrate today.
Awesome. Fantastic. Fantastic. This is a great conversation. I mean,
Yes.
I'm not surprised at all. And I'm gonna, when the recording of this comes out, I'm gonna kind of blast this thing all over the place. This is fantastic. Thank you so much, so much, so much. I really appreciate it. I wanted to, I decided last week that I'm going to end the webinars with just a thought or a quote for just from me, just to the world. And my encouragement to everyone watching, whether it's live or whether this recorded, is that you are absolutely enough. Exactly how you are. This world has a way of making us feel like we're not quite there, or we're not quite enough, or there's something more for us. And whoever you are, understand that however you are, whoever you are in your heart is enough. And we're all a work in progress. But understand that who you see in the mirror deserves love and deserves love from you. What you see in the mirror is a work in progress. But we are absolutely all on that journey, and on that journey, it's still okay wherever you are on that journey to be enough, exactly who you are, and how you are in the process of that journey. So
cool.
It's just an encouragement to everyone out there. Again, thank you so much, Barbara. This has been absolutely fantastic. I mean, you're a gift. You're Jim. You're a good friend of mine. I
enjoyed it.
Yes, I said no. The book is pretty awesome. All righty. You have a happy 4th of July, happy Independence Day, freedom. Enjoy Pueblo, and we will talk to you later.
All right. Very good. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.